Tottenham Depot. I am your host, Andrew. You can follow me at Aestetka. You can follow us at Tottenham Depot. This is episode 279, and we've got a lot to talk about in the world of Tottenham Hotspur, as we always do, and as we always have. Todd is alongside. He is at TC_Kasho. TC, what is up, my friend?
Any day, brother. Any day you can hop on a pod and chat with the folks about the impending new manager bounce is a good fucking day, let me tell you.
That is one way to look at it for certain. I know we are going to have a lot to talk about in terms of, yes, Tottenham Hotspur did officially hire a manager as of last week when we recorded. They had not done so. We've got plenty to talk about there. We've got Spurs Women to talk about. I will just let folks know Scott is not with us tonight. I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% sure on this. I think he went over to Italy to just kick everyone's ass because obviously they missed the World Cup again and he is quite inflamed about it. So even though he's been doing a lot of traveling lately, I think that's where he went. He might have just gone over for some pasta, but I'm pretty
he's
sure
still in mourning.
Yeah, he's suffering as if any of us are really that excited for the World Cup this year, but now he has even less to worry about there. Because
truthfully, the folks that should be excited about the World Cup are England fans, because this is probably going to be their best opportunity to get one over the line.
I would kind of agree with that. It's probably one of their best chances in some time. I'm not sure I would call them the favorites, but they're definitely in my top 3 or 4 choices of teams that I would probably expect to be looking.
Yeah, I don't know how you don't look at France and say they're the favorite. And you could also probably throw Argentina in the mix just because they're Argentina. But outside of them, England is the next closest.
Yeah, I mean, the only other team I was going to throw in there would have been Spain. I think Spain has...
I mean, that's fair. I mean, they're a young team. They won the Euros. It makes sense. But
yeah. And Germany's always tough as well. We know that. But
they're at the end. They're at the end of their cycle. Same thing with like Belgium was at the end of their cycle last year. Croatia was at the end of their cycle in the last World Cup. Like this is, it's probably this one for this England crop. It's probably this one.
You would certainly think so. Speaking of a team that's not at the end of their cycle, that I think is kind of at the beginning of their cycle right now, let's talk a little Spurs Women before we get into the men's new manager. Spurs Women, I totally will admit, I knew they were playing the FA Cup quarterfinal on Monday today against Chelsea. Thought the game was going to be in the afternoon stateside time. I thought it was a night game. Checked yesterday, realized it was actually an afternoon game over there in England. So early morning here, kind of like a weekend game would be. So I guess bank holiday, I didn't think about that. But yeah, I woke up early this morning on a Monday to watch Spurs Women take on Chelsea. And this was a game that was not that close, but also very close. 2-1 to Chelsea, a late goal for the winner. And we continue to just kind of bark up the same tree with Spurs Women because we're seeing the signs, but the results are not all there as of yet. And look, we knew coming into this quarterfinal that this was going to be not only a little bit of a free hit, but also a tall tree to climb. Chelsea are still Chelsea, even though they're not going to win the league this year. They're still a much better team than Spurs are at this point. They're very formidable, and they're trying to go win a trophy this season in some form or fashion. So the FA Cup is one of their avenues to do so. I thought Spurs made a really strong start in this match. They did not give up a goal until the 40th minute, right before halftime. It was one of those where I was watching and I'm thinking, okay, if you get this to halftime scoreless, maybe something can happen. Maybe some pressure can be put on. They got that goal before the half, Sam Kerr with a goal, and I was like, okay, this is probably going to get ugly. However, Spurs came out in the second half and actually got an equalizer. Now, it took an absolute worldie from Evelina Summanen.
And it was a banger.
A complete and utter, I don't know how that ball went in the net. But then Chelsea, of course, kept the pressure on and eventually broke Spurs down for the second late on, and they will advance to face Manchester City in the semifinal. Of course, Arsenal were knocked out of the FA Cup. Would have been nice there, but the other semi is going to be Liverpool and Brighton. So would have been that opportunity, but unfortunately, Spurs Women are out of the FA Cup at this point.
Yeah. We really miss Claire Hunt like so much right now.
It's kind of jarring too, because I'm not sure we would have thought that Claire Hunt would be this important of a piece. I knew she was paired really well with Toka Koga all season.
But Koga's having to play the opposite side, and she's not as effective. And in this match, anyway, they moved Nilbinen from left back, and to play that left center back position, and she's just not stout enough to do that against a Chelsea front line that features Sam Kerr. I don't know how else to put it.
It's well said. It's well said. I did like the fact that we got both Bethany England and Tinka Tamberg on the pitch starting from
I need way more from Tinka Tamberg than I'm seeing. I got to be honest with you.
The finishing has been a little lacking of late, for sure, and that is
you're a striker, Andrew. That's kind of your job.
Yeah, that has been a little bit tough. But like I said, a strong effort. It came up short, and now
I mean they beat the brakes off of us. Okay, if you're looking at the XG, they almost had 3 goals to our 0.4 or whatever. Like, they were clearly the better team, especially in that first half, dude. There was an onslaught that Spurs faced.
If this was a league match, I would totally be on board with it. But in a cup match, I'm just thinking the scoreline is all that matters. So I get what you're saying. Like, they did get beaten, but my point is that they were at least in the tie. They did not get blown out in this game they were in it, and it's a cup game, so you can have a little bit of a feel there. And I got to be honest, waking up on a Monday morning before work and sit down with a coffee and watch that, I was like, okay, like at least they weren't down 4-0 in the 60th minute, and I had no reason to watch the final 30.
Sure, it wasn't like the last Arsenal match. That's
exactly. The other really big news from this match too is that Ella Morris is back, returned from the long-term absence after the ACL, came on as a sub. Looked decent for the short time that she was on the pitch, and hopefully, only 3 games left, and now a little bit of a break now, another international break for the women. Spurs Women will not be back in action until later on this month. On the 26th, they will host Manchester United at the stadium, but only 3 matches left. So maybe we can see Ella Morris get her feet a little bit more under her as this season kind of closes. And again, we can kind of see what this team is continuing to just build on. I know I said a couple weeks ago, I feel like the rest of the season is kind of just whatever, and I still do kind of feel that way, but at the same time, you can still learn a few things about some of these players and see who's in this thing for real.
I mean, you can, but for me, this is about get some fresh legs in there, learn what you can about some folks, try to keep it close, make a good showing, make sure that you remain, in a decent position. So that as you look ahead to next season, you don't go, yeah, but we lost the last 3 matches of the year sort of thing, right? Because, I mean, truth be told, we lost our last 4 in a row, man. And so, like, you want to end the season on a high note, and I think we can. So
I think it's very possible as well. There's certainly the opportunity is there for them. So hopefully Martin Ho can get these ladies to turn things around a little bit and put the ball in the back of the net a little bit more. That would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into the managerial discussion, my friend, because we talked about it last week, and like I said, we've kind of said
Martin Ho, really like him. Super glad that he got an extension. Excited to see what he does next year.
Exactly. Now let's talk about Roberto De Zerbi, because we did speak last week about the fact that this guy was coming in. We all kind of knew it at that point, even though it had not been officially announced, and we mostly had our say on things. I don't know if there's anything else we need to get off of our chest. I'm happy to let you do so. We made our positions pretty clear, and I think that our position was pretty similar to that of a lot of the supporters groups that were coming out. The Supporters Trust came out, Proud Lily Whites, we saw Women of the Lane, all of these different supporters groups coming out and saying this is not the right guy for us in this moment. Maybe any moment, but especially in this moment. And I think that the reaction after the hire was made, it tells a lot of the story as to folks are still just not going to roll over and accept this as a thing that should have happened.
Yeah. I mean, there were certainly a lot of folks that came out and made their feelings felt. There were certainly a lot of folks that came out and had some strong words for the club, for De Zerbi, for the board, for Mason Greenwood. So people had a lot of strong things to say. People also had a lot of strong things to say on the opposite end of that, right? Like, what does this have to do with anything, and all these different things, and we just need to stay up, and blah, 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 blah. Tactically, I'm pretty excited about what this man has the potential to do with the football. But the way that I put it is I'm not sure that the soul of this club is going to recover until he's gone. Winning cures all ills. Let's keep that first and foremost in our mind. He keeps us up, and all of a sudden we make a little noise in the window, and we're coming in and we're coming into next season and feeling strong and feeling galvanized, and maybe it's a different conversation. But ultimately, as we've seen with Roberto De Zerbi, and more importantly, ultimately what we've seen with Spurs, is it doesn't really matter who's in the driver's seat. About 18 months from now, we're going to be talking about bringing in somebody else. I hope. I
would think so.
hope. Well, it's not that I would think so. It's like we had Poch, who was like a godfather at this club, and we let him go after a Champions League final because for a variety of different reasons. We brought in two win now managers that have all the cachet in the world, and neither one of them lasted 2 seasons. And then we brought in a serial winner in Ange, who plays the type of football that Spurs fans say that they want to play, especially after the moratorium on Mourinho and Conte ball that we had collectively as a fan base. And he comes in and plays fast-paced attacking football, and now all of a sudden it's whoa, let's take a back seat. We kick him out the door for John the Pragmatist. That guy poops the bed. And then we're over here going, well, now we're playing Ring Around the Ryan Mason or Ring Around the Tudor or whatever it is, right? Like, so it's please forgive me if who is standing on the touchline is a little less important to me than who we have on the pitch and how they're performing. Like, I don't know, Andrew. This is a club that brought in George Graham. This is a club that brought in Mourinho and Conte. Like, we will hire whatever manager we think will give us the biggest return in the shortest amount of time. And unfortunately, sometimes you end up craps on that, which we did. And so now the only hope is that the De Zerbi hire will actually bear fruit quickly. That's literally what we're looking at. Either that or
especially over the next 7 games.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Because it's either that or we just gave this guy the keys to the kingdom in the championship.
Right, which is not what anyone wants to happen. I mentioned Proud Lily Whites before. They put out a statement after the hire was made that I think kind of sums up where I'm at personally.
Yeah.
They said, whilst we disagree with the managerial choice in terms of cultural and competence, we will continue to support the players without pretending to be comfortable with the appointment. This is not noise or reaction. It is a considered position and is not going away. And again, that's kind of how I feel about it. Now, I don't want to give the club too much credit with what I'm about to say, but they did put out an in-house interview with Roberto De Zerbi this week following his appointment, and the questions were asked about his comments about Mason Greenwood. And again, I'm going to reiterate, I don't want to give the club too much credit. This is not the congrats for pooping on the potty award. Like, we're not handing those out. You did the bare minimum here, but they did do the bare minimum. And I just want to, if folks haven't seen it, I want to read out what Roberto De Zerbi said. Now, he said it in Italian. This is translated to English, obviously, for an English podcast. But this was his quote.
And my Italian is shit.
Right. And mine is even worse than shit. But I want to read this, and then I want us to both react to it. And here it is. Quote, I have never wanted to downplay the issue of violence against women or violence against anyone more broadly. In my life, I have always stood up for those who are more vulnerable, more fragile. I've consistently fought and taken a stand to be on the side of those who are most at risk. Those of you who know me well will know I'm not the type of person who makes compromises to win more games or to win an extra title. I'm sorry if this offended anyone's feelings with this subject matter. I have a daughter, and I'm very sensitive to these things, and I always have been. I hope that over time, people will get to know me better and will understand that at that moment, I didn't mean to take a stance. End quote. A few things. You did take a stance, number one, just addressing the very end of that. He did take a stance. Whether or not he meant to, I'm not going to call the man a liar, but what he did was exactly that, is that he did take a stance. Saying that you're sorry if anyone's feelings were hurt is not an apology. I get that he is this is in form an apology, but that's not really what an apology is. Saying that you're sorry if someone was hurt by your actions is not how you apologize. And lastly, I'll just say I find it really icky that he is invoking the fact that he has a daughter. That people can have daughters and still make poor choices with their words and with their actions. It does not.
He was trying to say, yeah, I get you. He was trying to sound relatable in that moment.
He was, and that's what I would call an attempt. I won't even call it a fine attempt.
It's also through a translator, so it's hard to discuss context and nuance.
100%. Yeah. That's why I said that at the start. I'm gonna be fair about that too. Yes, this was translated.
This guy was put. Here's the thing: if this were an isolated incident, we would be having a different conversation. But this guy's been a proper prick everywhere he's ever been.
Yes.
So we're just going to call it what it is. Okay. The fact that this particular issue is the reason that you're getting pulled up right now is way more about the fact that violence against women is not as big of a deal as it needs to be in European football. We're just going to fucking call it what it is.
By the way, there's a really great piece on The Athletic this week about that very topic. I would suggest folks go seek it out.
So, and I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, well, the cultural differences and the Italian people and this. I'm not going to fucking do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to look at you in the face and say, this guy got put in a terrible fucking position. Okay? This guy got put in a terrible position.
Well, he partially put himself there, though. Let's be fair.
Oh, no. I'm saying now. Okay, because when you're at Marseille and you make those choices and you say those things, and he got pulled up by the French media and he told them to go pound sand. Like he, on no uncertain terms, was like, fuck you guys, basically. And I'm saying now he got put in a really tough position because it's like, if you've ever coached, you almost by proxy take responsibility for the actions of your players. Because you're leading them, so their attitude reflects leadership, right? And so when he chose to go to bat for Greenwood, he stuck his neck out, and that for you is an apt point saying he kind of put himself in the middle of this. But what I'm saying is, if the club comes to me right now, take Mason Greenwood's name off of the player that we're talking about, and they say that this player's profile coming in from the Spanish league, we have the opportunity to get him, and I think it's a good idea that we bring him in. And De Zerbi looks at that situation and goes, yeah, dude, that player, the person on paper, can make a significant impact for our club and in the league, which he did. Mason Greenwood did. He led the league in scoring last year. So, second, tied, whatever. He was right there. He is a human that has made horrible decisions in his life, but also an exceptional football player. Two things can be true. And De Zerbi took a chance on this kid. Now, whether you agree with him taking a chance on this kid or not is neither here nor there. He made the choice as a coach to throw an arm around this kid and say, the world has shat you out for good reason, but the world has shat you out. I'm going to bring you in. And he made that choice. And there's other quotes floating around. And I again, my Italian is garbage, so I don't know how accurate they are. But basically, like, the world turned their back on this kid. He's like my footballing son. I put my arm around his shoulder. I brought him in when no one else would. And because of that, like, he made mistakes, paid for them dearly. And people take issue with that phrase, which I get that. I mean, in comparison to how the other people in this situation or other victims of violence against women have suffered, like, it's not a comparison. I'm not trying to make that by any stretch. But you can understand where De Zerbi was coming from when he said those words. And he said he's paid for his mistakes as a young man, and we've given him an opportunity, and he's done nothing but take full advantage of that opportunity and be a great human and a great player and a great teammate on this team. So I want to say three things on this. The first thing that I want to say is, as far as what he did, Mason Greenwood, there is no excuse, regardless of your age, regardless of your experience, regardless of your background. There is no excuse for violence against women, ever. and not excusing it. What De Zerbi did as a coach, throwing an arm around a player, especially a much maligned player for good reason, was a huge stepping in front of a bullseye, essentially. And so the fact that he's been hit with some shots makes total sense. And the third thing that I would say is that as someone who's gone to bat for someone else in life, in the professional setting that the world or the workplace has turned their back on, and just that spark of believing in that person when they're down, I've seen the positive impact that that's had on that person and their ability to perform. And to see the type of output that you've seen from Mason Greenwood, I would argue is a testament to the work that De Zerbi put into him. But the last thing that I want to say on this is whether it was the right decision to make or whether it was the wrong decision to make. I would never want someone to judge me as an individual, as a professional, as a man, based off of the one decision that I made to stick my neck out for somebody else. Instead, I would like to zoom out and take a look at the body of work for Roberto De Zerbi, where he's been a prick everywhere he's ever gone, and said that I hope that we don't see that version of Roberto De Zerbi here, though I fear us being Tottenham, it's likely to happen.
Right, and to your point earlier, like it's not one isolated incident. You know,
no,
this is not a one-time thing with this guy. It's a repeated action. And, you know, to your point, like he did step in front of a bullseye. I think that's part of the reason that all of us are so, and I say all of us is like, it's the royal we. That's the reason that there is such a scuttlebutt about this, because that just shows such a lack in judgment and
wait, what's the lack in judgment?
Stepping in front of that bullseye to do what he did. That is you cannot and I'm not saying that no one can have a second chance ever, but there are certain places and certain places of privilege that certain people do not need to be flouted on. And I'm talking about Mason Greenwood here, not Roberto De Zerbi. I want to be very clear about that.
Well, no, I guess here's my thing, right? Like, so that guy, Roberto De Zerbi, didn't give him his first chance after Man United, right? He went to Spain. And he had a good season in Spain, and he rehabbed his image and got his work ethic back and did all of the things that he needed to do in Spain. And he got the opportunity, did De Zerbi, to sign a player in a league. I'm talking clearly football.
Yeah.
He got the opportunity to sign a player in the league that would be one of the top 3 players in the league immediately in his position, would instantly help Marseille be more competitive, which they got Champions League football. You can't say shit about it. And would immediately be the kind of bell cow for the De Zerbi offense. And they got him at a cut rate price. Now,
just like Tottenham did with Yves Bissouma a few years ago.
Yves Bissouma. And we've seen how that's worked out. So again, I'm not over here saying that every time you take a chance on a guy, he balls out of his mind. But what I will say is that, Andrew, again, there is no excuse for violence against women ever. But thank God, I am not judged as a man for the rest of my life by the mistakes that I made as a 19-year-old. Or as an 18-year-old, or as a 17-year-old, or whatever that was.
I get what you're saying. I do. And look, I'm in the same boat. I don't want anybody to judge me for my worst moments, but by any stretch, because there's
let alone judge the man who hired me.
But there's
to give me a second chance by my worst moments. Do you see what I'm getting at, though?
But there's a difference in giving someone a second chance from a footballing perspective, and then going the extra mile in the way that he did to speak about Greenwood in the way that he did. You can hire somebody that has a checkered past. A past of heinous acts. You can do that as a football club, as a manager. You have that right. You can do that, and then when the questions come, you need to have the proper answers, and that's where we have the issue. Is the proper answers are not given to those questions.
Well, would the proper answers be given if we could read Italian? That's my question.
It's a question that I don't have the answer to. But
do you see what I'm saying though? Like how much of the nuance and how much of the subtext is translated? I don't know. I don't know, especially in a very
well, I know his quotes about
a very
Mason
macho
Greenwood
language.
were translated properly. Like we know what he said about Mason Greenwood, and
Yeah,
that's if those comments are not made, if this was just they hired Mason Greenwood, they treated it like this is a footballing move, and we are going to also if God forbid if they went above and beyond and said we are going to work with Mason Greenwood to make sure that he is aware that violence against women is not something that this club stands for. Of course, I'm speaking about Marseille. And if they had gone the extra mile to say we recognize that by signing this player, this is what we are bringing upon ourselves, but we are also going to go above and beyond to make the effort to say that this is the reason that we are doing this, and we are trying to give an opportunity to this player to turn things in his life around, and it will also benefit us from a footballing standpoint. They could have done that.
But we don't know that came. Well, we don't know that that didn't come out in French. We don't know that.
I'm just saying.
We don't know. I haven't gone back and researched it. But what I'm saying is,
I don't really care about that part of it, though.
Right, but I'm over here saying like
the Zerbi part because he's now the head coach of the Tottenham Hotspur Football Club.
Right, and my whole point here is this guy. Let's say De Zerbi said, "I mean, yeah, let's go ahead and sign him. He's going to make a big difference." And then when he actually got in the building, he put his arm around the shoulder. He interacted with the man, and he was pleasantly surprised. He was like, "This guy works his socks off. This guy busted his ass for me. This guy did all the things for me."
And
like,
that's fine.
If you had a checkered past, okay, that you got into trouble, you were a knucklehead when you were a kid, and you went abroad and you got your shit together for a couple of years, and you got the opportunity to come back. And your coworkers, they didn't know anything about you. They just knew the person that you were when you showed up. Your boss just said, "You know what? I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, and I'm just going to judge you by the man that walks through the door." And you come in and you've really learned from the situation that you've been through, and you've really come out the other side of it, and you're a better person. And your manager, and I'm not saying this has happened, but I'm just saying, like, and your manager goes to bat for you and says, like, "Hey, this guy had a tough stretch. The world turned their back on him. I put my arm around his shoulder. He's turned up for me as well as I could ever possibly ask him to do." Like, how can you look at that in a negative light? I don't know.
Because you're painting a Norman Rockwell painting of something that is not actually what we're discussing. We're discussing a footballer who committed violence against women.
I'm not talking about a footballer.
I am. That's the conversation.
I know.
You're trying to turn it into.
I'm talking about a football manager.
Different.
No, I'm talking about a football manager.
No, you're talking
based off of the words he said.
What I'm saying is, this is a public-facing entity. Mason Greenwood is not some Joe Schmo who was a knucklehead as a kid and went away and then came back and picked his life up together. That's not what happened. There was a violent act committed, and it was public facing. And you and I are not public facing, maybe because of this podcast, but that's about it. You and I don't have the level of attention or fame or notoriety that a world-renowned footballer does. So when something like this happens on that level, there should never be a guarantee that player gets to keep that level of notoriety or fame, no matter how talented they are.
I'm not arguing the inverse.
So my only point is the fact that Roberto De Zerbi went to bat so hard for this guy was not necessary. Because if you wanted to bring him in from a footballing perspective, bring it back to the football.
Okay, well, I'm still talking about the football. And so what I'm saying to you is, as someone who has managed men before, if you got to throw your arm around somebody to let them know, like, "Hey, the world thinks you're shit, but I think you're great," you have to say that in public so that they know that you have their back when they're not in the same room. Because so many people have tore them down despite being nice to their face behind their back. What I'm saying is this boils down to man management. And he went to bat and said, "That's my fucking dude." And when he did that, Andrew, that fucking dude led the league in goals or was second or tied for first or whatever the fuck it was. And so what I'm saying is, from a man management standpoint, he did everything that you could possibly ask a manager to do when presented with a situation that was essentially a shit sandwich. Now, whether he was involved in ordering that shit sandwich or getting it delivered is neither here nor there. What I'm saying is that from a PR standpoint, it's a shit sandwich. It doesn't matter. And so I think that in an unwinnable situation, and it's which from a PR standpoint, bringing in Mason Greenwood is an unwinnable situation from PR. And so in an unwinnable situation, I think he managed it as well as you possibly could. My biggest issue with Roberto De Zerbi doesn't have anything to do with Mason Greenwood. I'll tell you that myself. My biggest issue with Roberto De Zerbi is how he interacts with his players on the training pitch. I think the micromanagement style wears thin very quickly at the highest level. And I think that you've got guys like Jed Spence, they're going to tune this motherfucker out real quick.
And we're sitting here talking about man management. Like, again, we have more than one example of this guy being a man manager in a negative way. So that's what I'm very nervous about going forward. And that's what I'm.
He also has a tendency to get super grumpy with the media and has a tendency to tell you exactly how he feels about the board.
And he's not going to get grumpy with the media in the playful, beleaguered Ange Postecoglou way. Like he's going to do it in a fierce and angry way. Like
Ange was a biracial angel, and we shit the bed.
We really did. It really is seeming more and more like this was a big fuck up, and that's the part that I think has made the podcast so difficult to do this season. To be perfectly honest, it's gotten to be, I guess we're gonna do this, to have this conversation again, and that's.
Well, I just hope you appreciated the obligatory other guy's quote. So you're welcome.
I want to before we get out of here today, I do want to touch on this story about Mikey Moore, which.
Oh, hold on.
Oh, go ahead.
Before we get there, I just wanted to put a bow on the De Zerbi thing. The tactics are actually exciting. I think that with the players that we have and with the way that this guy manages football and we're looking for a new manager bounce. We're actually talking about tactics right now instead of running around without the fucking football, right? We're actually talking about taking some touches and doing some things. Like, I feel like there are certain players in this team where they've just been waiting for like a paint by numbers sort of playbook. Right. And De Zerbi really comes out there and provides that. And I mean, when you're going from
it's almost a little bit
just
like
don't lose, guys, just don't lose to Tudor, they must run harder. Like, you're really going to appreciate someone that's going to come in and be like, hey, why don't you take an extra touch here and then open your hips and find the guy up the line? I'm like, oh, hey, that's a fucking great idea, coach. Thanks.
It sounds a lot like what Ange was doing.
Oh, how come?
Just a little bit.
Oh, fuckers. I'll never forgive him, Andrew. I'll never forgive him.
The club put out I guess you could call this a doc. They do this series on their socials about loan players. And this week, Mikey Moore was featured. Mikey Moore having a really good season at Rangers in limited minutes. He's played just over 1,200 minutes, 6 goals, 2 assists. He's tearing it up, having a great season. What was revealed in this was that the little virus that he dealt with and that kept him out for so long last season was actually myocarditis, which, for those who don't know, is a virus.
It is no bullshit.
Yeah, it is not pretty. It is a virus that causes inflammation in the heart, and that led him to be basically out of action for like a full 6 weeks. He was basically bedridden. And
yeah, you remember he had that crazy good start at the beginning of the year. Yeah. And then all of a sudden he just fell off the map and he wasn't available for selection. Yeah. And then when he came back, he looked a little off it. And my concern in that moment, Andrew, was like, oh, well, 17-year-old kid. He's, this first year in the Prem, like these are hard matches. It's going to take its toll on you. La da 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 da. Mm-hmm. Well, apparently,
myocarditis is something that takes a while to come back from, is basically the long and the short of it. My favorite baseball team, the Baltimore Orioles, had a player a few years ago that coming out of the draft got myocarditis. He didn't come back to the playing field for like 18 months. It was a long-term absence. It's stuff that really, really takes its toll because it's the heart. Last time I checked, your heart is a pretty important part of the body. So
kind of matters.
It's really, really great to see Mikey Moore thriving and especially coming back from that. And I'm really, really excited for him to lead us to a title in the championship next season. I really, really think that he's going to be a catalyst for that.
No, so I want to take a second to say three things on this topic. First, I love Mikey Moore. His celebration for the Europa League last year is where he's just all, I don't know what to do with my arms. Like, I'll remember it for the rest of my life. It was incredible. Second thing that I want to say on this is the season that he's having at Rangers is exactly the type of loan spell that we should be looking for all of our young players, to be candid with you. And I was concerned when he went to Rangers, Andrew. I was like, I don't know if the Scottish Premier League is the best route for this guy. Like, we want him doing big things. Like, he's supposed to be a huge deal for us. And I'm going to stand corrected right now because I feel like that this loan move has been nothing but positive for him. And then the third thing that I'll say about this is, do we have such a nucleus of young talent? If we actually do go down and are able to separate so much wheat from the chaff with all of the like bloated Premier League contracts that we have right now, and then just get the super tight nucleus of loan players that we have out and young players that we have, we can make some fucking noise for cheap down there.
Before we talk specifically about the Sunderland match and a little bit about these final 7 weeks, I do kind of want to get a temperature, and I would really like to hear from listeners on this too. Like, get in your feels for a second and let me know, because I'm wondering if this is all just cope, this positivity that we're trying to find from a possible relegation, because when you say all those things, I feel them too. I do feel like it would be a really good reset button. And also part of me just feels like, what a kick in the pants that would be to this board. Like, look what you did. You went and fucked around so much that this team got relegated because you didn't take care of it over the last few years. That to me would feel like some kind of, I don't know, comeuppance. I know that is probably cope, and I guess that's what I'm asking. Is this all just cope? Like, because I don't actually.
It's a fucking 100% cope. We're one of the top 7 teams in the world when it comes to revenue generated, and the fact that we're even at this point is utterly ridiculous. Any sort of conversation around how the championship would be good for Tottenham Hotspur is 1,000% cope. I don't want to fucking hear that nonsense.
Well,
we're in the Champions League.
I know. Well, yeah. At least we were for a couple of years there.
Shut up. We're in the Champions. We were in the Champions League this year. I don't want to hear it.
Man, and look, I don't want the club to get relegated. I continue to say that over and over again, but I also have to fully recognize that I've kind of been resigned to the fact that we may be relegated for weeks now. And I don't know if I'm just in that zone of, I don't want to say comfort, but it's kind of
you
comfort.
Are. Well, it's your, you have a tendency to feel misery in the lead up. We call it pre-misery.
We call it being a Tottenham Hotspur fan is what we call it.
It's fine. It's pre-misery. And so as you go through this, we support you and stand by you. Sometimes you are correct, and there is misery to be had. But other times, I feel as though there's a lot of unnecessary hand-wringing. Because we are still fucking Tottenham Hotspur, brother. So all of it starts this Sunday at Sunderland. What are we doing at the Stadium of Light?
You tell me, man. It sounds like we're starting Anton Kinski in goal, number 1, which
needs to be chatted on.
Well, I mean, let me ask you this. Would you rather see anyone else? Or...
Yeah, I would probably start Brandon Austin if we're keeping it 100.
I 100% disagree. And
tell me why.
Well, because I think that if you did that, number 1, Igor Tudor tried to ruin Anton Kinski's career. This would ruin Anton Kinski's career if he does not start in place of Guglielmo Vicario. That he's the number 2 goalkeeper. You start him if Vicario can't go, and all indications are post-hernia surgery. Vicario will not be ready to go by this Sunday. Perhaps the following week at home against Brighton, but not for the first game back from this break. I think you have to start Kinski. I think that the mood that he will be in will be less deer in headlights than it was on that Champions League night. I think that was a terrible spot to throw him into.
He got dark arts. It didn't have anything to do about the lights being too bright. It had to do with the fact that field was a fucking shit show. He made a mistake and he got in his head, and then the field did him, and that's a wrap.
but the got in his head part is the lights being a little bright too. I think that was part of it, and I think you just have to go with it. And I don't know, I'm not a praying person, but pray. Like, that's what you got to do. You got to hope for the best.
I don't know, dude. I watched Brandon Austin in the Premier League last year and was pretty impressed with what he brought to the table. Like, I looked at Anthony Kinski after that debacle, and I told you, I know he's young, but I think that's the end of his Premier League career. I said that.
Could be.
I meant that.
Also,
but
might not become this Sunday. We'll have to see. I don't know that Brandon Austin. I just don't see that happening. I don't think they will.
You're probably right, just because De Zerbi requires somebody who plays well with their feet, and Kinski, despite all of the shit he's been taking because of his fuck-ups at Atletico Madrid, is the best ball-playing keeper that we have, like by far the best with his feet. And so I think that in practice, without Vicario, I think that's going to bode well for him getting the nod on Sunday. But my issue with Anton Kinski is that he's not good enough at reaction saves. He freezes. And it's like I've said, if you could mix Kinski and Vicario together, you'd have the perfect goalkeeper. And I stand by that, brother. I think that's really what we're talking about right now. So my concern about starting him at the Stadium of Light is that it could get real ugly real early. And then what?
Then you hang on for dear life. I mean, that's really your only option.
Well, no. I know it's not your only fucking option, especially when you're fighting relegation and trying to hold on to your fucking goal difference lead.
So I also think it's really important to point out that by the time we get to Sunday and Spurs trip to the Stadium of Light, they could already be in the relegation zone. Because if you remember...
Who does West Ham play?
West Ham play at home against Wolves on Friday.
I think Wolves rolled them, especially given the FA Cup exit. Well, they had an extra time FA Cup exit and a
and
heartbreaker.
That's another thing I wanted to mention too is West Ham and Leeds played this weekend in the FA Cup. Leeds advance on penalties. And by the way, we still have Leeds on the schedule, and they are still also within range in this relegation battle too. That Leeds match, by the way, was moved to Monday of that week. Now, we're not talking about till mid-May, but that's another one that we've got to kind of focus on. And Leeds is going to have an extra game to play down the line because they've advanced in the FA Cup. They have a trip. That's the semifinal. It'll be a trip to Wembley to face Chelsea in that semifinal. So they're going to have some rearranged matches here, and their schedule is going to get a little bit busier because they advance. So maybe instead of looking behind us at West Ham, we can be looking ahead of us at Leeds and say, let's go catch them and really get ourselves out of this thing. But it's 7 matches, man, and it starts this Sunday, and it's 7 straight weeks running all the way through May. And what else is there to say but go get it. Go do it. You have to. There's no other option.
That's all there is, brother. That's all there is.
Yeah. That's going to do it for us here at the Tottenham Depot this week. We will, of course, be back with you on Sunday following Spurs Sunderland, and we'll see where we stand because that's going to be all we can do over the next month and a half, 2 months. Be sure to check out our episodes on our YouTube page, youtube.com/Tottenham Depot, and leave us a rating and review on your podcast app of choice to help spread the word about the show. You can follow Todd at TC_Show. You can follow me at Astetka, but most importantly, follow us at Tottenham Depot on all the socials. We will be back with you on Sunday. This has been the Tottenham Depot podcast. As always, come on, you Spurs.